Hey guys, welcome back to Team APS Plus. In case you've been living under a rock, Konami just dropped a new ban list for the TCG. It's going to be going legal next week. And spoiler, it's a big one. It's also the one that hit the thing that we all kind of expected would hit Tearlaments, right? Ishizu Tearlaments. They got pretty much massacred. I think that this kind of goes without saying. I'm not going to be doing some sort of a live ban reaction thing like, whoa, it's my first time seeing it. Definitely. But instead, just giving my thoughts on the ban list itself, and also, of course, just miscellaneous things afterwards. And I do want to hear what you guys think about it. Also, fair warning here, I have not been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! This past format, so I don't actually have like a lot of hands-on experience playing against these cards. So most of my opinions are going to be more around just like the general optics of it and not like the specifics. You can go to plenty of other channels though if you want that sort of competitive analysis. All right, so shout outs to Master Duel Meta or Decade for this wonderful website where I can just pan over cards and have their effects show up on screen. It's wonderful. We're going to start with the ban cards. There's four of them. I think that the elephant in the room, I guess, is like Kit Kalos, and or really they're all elephants in their own way. But Kit Kalos, Tearlaments Kit Kalos. So yeah, this got banned. I know that this is a really powerful starter card for these guys. I mean, it can be summoned with Instant Fusion, which is the big thing. And I know a lot of people thought that maybe Instant Fusion itself would be the card to get hit instead of Kit Kalos because its fusion's a lot older and it's always kind of been like a not a problem card, but in some formats it's strong, in some formats maybe not as much. But yeah, Kit Kalos took the fall. It's a bit of a shame. She had like a Starlight rare and all these different things, and it sort of feels like harsh. But yeah, so she's gone. I don't have much of a problem with this. I don't think that the Tearlaments deck. It's not my favorite deck or anything. So yeah, she's gone. Also Sprite Elf. So yeah, this one's an interesting one. It's sprites themselves were not like a super dominant force. I mean, they could definitely compete with Tearlaments, to my understanding from like just the tournaments I've been following, the results and stuff. But not the case, I suppose. That Konami just thought it just doesn't get to exist. Now, this is a bit of a slap in the face to a lot of level 2 based decks because while sprites were used in a lot of level 2 decks and like they could be their own deck too, it's a shame because, like, say, the Gishki deck that's coming out in Photon Hypernova, not coming out, but Gishki's getting support in Photon Hypernova, and a lot of, like, they can make good use of Sprite Elf, or at least they would have been able to. But with it banned, this deck and plenty of other decks too just are kind of left without a really powerful utility sort of tool. This is, in my opinion, kind of like I don't call it the Electromite of level twos, but it's something like that. The OCG actually still kept this card at 3 the whole time, so it's weird that the TCG took such a harsh approach to it. I mean, at least Cacao is banned in both, so as you can see down there. Next is they hit Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. This is their way of hitting Fluanderies. I think it's pretty well-deserved hit. This card can be very obnoxious. This is coming from me, a Fluanderies player. I like the deck all right, but I'm totally willing to admit that it's just pretty rude. So this card being banned is totally fine with me. It's even got like hidden Master Duels, so I think like all three formats, TCG, OCG, and Master Duel, got rid of this card. I mean, the barrier statues are always going to be that sort of thing where like the moment a barrier statue can be summoned from the deck, like searched and summoned really easily or whatever, it tends to like end up being a problem. So I mean, this was an issue even before Fluanderies, back with like the bird up sort of Tri Brigade Lyrilusc deck. So I'm okay. I don't mind seeing the back of this card. Next is Artifact Scythe. So this is kind of a bit of a stealth hit. I have not seen a lot of people talking about Scythe getting hit, but it was like definitely the main villain of last year, last season, if you want to call it that, because this thing, every deck pretty much had some sort of a way to get a Scythe lock going on you, and I don't really have any problems with finally just seeing this card be gone. I've wanted it gone for quite a while. Extra deck locks are very rude. There are still extra deck locks that exist in this game, but this one was probably the most accessible, probably the most like problematic, and so Konami finally hit it. It's kind of one of these examples of the TCG being a bit behind the curve a little bit with like their hits, because I think this is something people wanted hit like last summer. But no complaints from me. I mean, it's finally gone. Okay, so next we've got a bunch of limited cards, and these are nearly entirely Tearlaments based. So Agido, Kelbeck, Keldo, and Mudora. These are all the Ishizu cards, all limited to one. I was curious what approach they would take to this. I didn't know if they were going to like hit maybe just two of them or like ban one or two. I don't. There's always kind of different ways of doing it. I don't know that much of the specifics around like all of their little micro interactions within each other and like with like the Tearlaments deck. So it seems like Konami just was like, screw it, they all go to one. Uh, this sucks if I guess if you want to play a Ishizu deck. I don't know if a lot of people are actually playing a Ishizu deck, but someone out there was. So they're all at one. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought that these four getting hit to one and then like maybe Kid Callus being banned would have been maybe where they stopped, but not the case. They hit every Tearlaments main deck monster, except conveniently the one that's getting an ultimate rare printing in the next ODS pack. But yeah, so we lose Havness to one, not even two like in the OCG. Also Merly and also Sheeran, which is at one in the OCG and now one in the TCG. So these are pretty brutal hits. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this really ultimately means that this deck has been just slashed and burned to the ground with so little power and no real consistency left. I mean, I would be shocked if somebody can pick up the pieces of this and still make some functioning Tearlaments deck because it seems rough. I mean, they tore this deck apart. Like the only other thing they could have gone for is the field spell, and like I think at this rate, the field spell just doesn't have any value. I mean, there's so few of these Tearlaments cards. Um, Also, Ancient Fairy Dragon got hit, but like it's getting an errata, so it's they're gonna probably release the errated version. I'm assuming in like Maze of Memories or whatever, and it won't really be like a problem. But yeah, these hits. Let's talk about these for just a little bit longer. I think that this is probably the most amount of hits I've seen a single deck take on a ban list ever. If we're counting like all eight of these cards as like hits to Tearlaments, this is just insane. But yeah, okay. And then I guess to quickly wrap it up, there's a bunch of cards that went to three. Most aren't like huge. So Destrudo, Jet Synchron, Olion, and well, these three are the tuners. So these used to be abused pretty heavily, I know, with Christian Haka Fibrax. With it gone, I remember they put these like to one and stuff, and they're just sort of like, see what happens. Nothing happened, so they're now at three. I don't think that any of these are going to cause any more problems at three than they really would at one. So it's cool that players can now experiment with this and have a little bit of fun. Also, Servant of Endymion, I talked about this just like the other day. I think this is a wonderful thing to finally bring back to three. You know my stance on pendulums. I'm not a huge pendulum fan, but I think that they deserve everything that they can get. It's a really struggling mechanic. It just feels like a lot is the deck is always stacked against them in terms of just like spell trap removal. The new master rule still makes it hard to like summon a lot of your pendulum monsters. It's just rough. So I think that this was a well-deserved ban list release, I guess you could call it. Lithosagem at three, pretty cool. I mean, it's like a little scary, I guess. I know this card can get rid of like three monsters from your opponent's extra deck, which is pretty dang strong. And I know it works really well with dinosaurs. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be actually all that much of a problem. It was a one, didn't really seem to do much. Maybe at three, it's more consistent, more reliable. So if it becomes a problem, I guess it would have to get hit again. But I'm willing to just kind of let this go. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Yatagarasu at three. This is funny because this kind of marks the ban list where Yatagarasu not only like it went to one before, and now it's literally just like off the list. Like it just goes to show where we are in Yu-Gi-Oh! In terms of the game advancing, power creep, whatever. Also, Spiral Resort at three, I think is pretty neat. I think Master Plan being banned still means that like I don't know how much this like means for the Spiral deck, but I would like to see Spirals able to do something, and it's nice that at least something is coming off. So yeah, and that's the ban list. So there's a lot of other stuff to talk about, though. I think the first major thing I would say is that I don't think that Tearlaments actually deserve to get hit this hard. Don't get me wrong. I am not like a huge fan of kind of the whole like tier zero thing, and I don't like the way that the deck functioned like in a spectator sort of sense, like all the cards getting milled off the deck and all the chains and the game states never open, and it's just like really tough to follow for the judges and the commentators and the players. I've made videos about this where like I totally don't think that those are like that doesn't look good. However, I think that that was largely just a result of the Ishizu cards. I think that those should have been the targets, the hits. but the Tearlaments deck should have been able to exist at least a little bit further into the future. I mean, it's not like a super high power level deck, especially without them, so I would have liked to maybe see them go a little wider on the Tearlaments hits and just let the deck just kind of exist, see maybe how it matches up when like the Kashtira cards come out and all of that. So it's not the first time Konami's done this, and it's also, conveniently right before the release of Photon Hypernova, right before another deck is about to get really strong. I know a lot of people kind of feel like this just is a slap in the face to people who invested in these decks, like, Sprites, Tearlaments, because, like, these decks were expensive in many cases. Sprite Blue and, like, Pearl and Primitive Planet Peril Arena, I don't remember the name. The field spell. Those were like expensive cards, and these decks could get pretty pricey. And like, especially if you decided to maybe invest in like these Starlights, like the Starlight Kid Kalos. It's just, your money is down the drain. So that really sucks too. I think it would have been nice to let these decks exist a little bit longer, maybe not be hit so hard. But I think they might have the right call in terms of hitting the Ishizu card. I just don't think that the tier cards all needed to get hit in the way that they did. But this is Konami. I remember like January 2020 kind of felt a lot like this. The Dragon Ruler ban list hit like felt a lot like this. And maybe there's like the smallest chance that Tearlaments can still do something. I mean, I still think it could perhaps be something of an engine. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't feel it doesn't it doesn't look well. It doesn't bode well for this deck. But who knows? Another point that I had was just that I'm glad that they did technically hit everything else too. They did hit like Scythe. That's always kind of been like a lingering problem. They did hit the barrier statues of Flaunderies. That's like a big complaint people have. They are finally going to be like heavily balanced. I don't think that Flaunderies is useless, but I think that it will not be, the strong anti-meta contender that can like literally steal you games anymore. You'll have to definitely work for them. And also, this sort of indirectly seems to hit the bestial monsters because with Tearlaments presumably off the map, there's a lot less of that whole, dark monsters to banish things. So bestials might like kind of fall off a little bit in play. You don't have to like force them into all of your different decks. They might still have some applications. Who knows? It all depends on how the format goes. But yeah, that's it. And also, I think that this is one of these lists where I don't know. It's not very exciting to me, actually. Like, it's exciting in that, like, if you're the type of person who likes a slash and burn list and a deck to just get kind of massacred, that's exciting. But we also didn't really get, like, interesting change-ups to, like, we didn't get, like, a fun banned card that came off the list, like, an old banned card. Like, this is Ancient Fairy Dragon, but, I'm talking about those, like, old power spells and stuff. Like, I'm always looking forward to seeing those come off the list. Not to say that this is, I mean, Ancient Fairy Dragon's cool, but it's just it's getting an errata, and so I don't know how exciting that is. But yeah, so this is the list. I do want to know what you guys think about it. I think that as a ban list, it's maybe just a little bit. It did its job, but like probably overcorrected a little bit, I think would be what I'd say. So if I had to give it like a scale of 1 to 10, let's see. I like that it hit a problem. I don't like that it hit it so hard. I like that it hit several different things in the process. I don't like that the last format got to be so short-lived, I guess. Like, we didn't get to really see this interact with Kashtira. And I like that people have a few more tools to play around with, like Servant, these tuners that I don't really see getting too much play. Spirals, Litho. We'll give it a 7, maybe a 7.5. I don't know. All right, let me know what you guys think, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I've been uploading a video every single day here. So if you like this sort of Yu-Gi-Oh discussion with nuance and also ignorance, because I don't actually know that much about what I'm talking about, you can let me know. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Fast start.